Alrighty, so next up, we're going to have Tammy Hall and Rick Dean join us. So let's do a little bit of welcome. And I feel so ready for Tammy and Rick, as you all will see soon why the musical connections are there. So Tammy Hall is going to lead us through Good Music for the Soul today with Rick. Tammy began playing piano at age 4 and is still devoted to that instrument. And so let me just do a little, Jessica, you got the screen there. All right, sorry. All right, and so Tammy's still devoted to that instrument and its calling in pursuit of creation and development and performance of good music. Tammy has worked with numerous accomplished vocalists and instrumentalists, and she has played at Carnegie Hall, Jazz at Lincoln Center, Kennedy Center, many international music festivals. She's conducted the national orchestras of Turkmenistan and Baku, and teaches and lectures at several performing arts organizations in school. She's the recipient of many awards, one of them being the Bay Area Jazz and Blues Artist Yakaza Bara Award. This is in recognition of her lifetime contribution to Black American music. And she's a 2-time award winner from the Bay Area Theater Critics Circle. So we are really pleased to have Tammy and her accomplished self with us today. And Tammy's going to be interviewed by Rick Dean. Rick studied music composition and philosophy at the University of Oklahoma. He's been composing and playing music for over 2 years, exploring traditional and avant-garde styles for a variety of instruments and ensembles. Rick pursues his passion for music when he's not working as a development manager at Berkeley Food and Housing Project. So I give the stage over to Rick and Tammy. Welcome.
Yeah, likewise. Yeah, we're grateful to have you here, and thank you for showing up and being here for amongst the harriedness and whatever that entails. So yes, I want to start with maybe a little performance, if that's possible. I think it might be nice for people that aren't as familiar with your music as Katie and I are to be able to hear a little bit of what your style is and what you can bring musically. So maybe we can start there. Is there a piece that you had prepared for the beginning?
Sure. I think I'll start with a song that I wrote called Sermon in Blue.
Okay, great.
Blue is my favorite color, so there are a lot of references to blue for me. Even my 2 CDs. The first one is called Blue Divine, and the second one is called Blue Soul. So it's
Mm.
all about the blue.
Wow, thank you so much, Tammy. That was amazing.
Thank you.
Such a great introduction. And as you were playing that, I had two thoughts. I was thinking, there are a lot of things that we can feel blue about, but I think that your piece has within the blue a playfulness and surprise and joy that you can find within that. And I think that's kind of a good reminder for all of us. And um, I think also I remember in our first conversation, you had talked about in relation to belonging, the importance of shared experience and how we're getting to kind of get all this shared experience today with, all the beautiful musical performances and speakers and things like that. So I'm glad that we can share this together and have this sense of belonging with the people we have today.
Yes, absolutely so. Yes. And the blue is not always necessarily about feeling down. Um, it's not always sad. The blue is also a great color to get lost in, like the deep
Mm,
blue water,
mm,
that surrounds us. That's where I'm really coming from uh, with that around the color blue. The blue is also the color associated with divinity, with divine,
mm,
which I believe that we all are. And so it's about remembering that part of us that we might be the drop of water, but we're the drop of water in an infinite ocean, in an
mm.
infinite blue of divinity, and we all belong there. Um, and I played Sermon in Blue too to help further ground me this morning
Yeah,
because there's a lot of activity happening in the house.
I see. I
Uh,
see.
so if you hear any extraneous noises, everything's fine, but there's just other stuff going on.
Totally fine. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that clarification. And that's a beautiful sentiment around
Mm.
blue and what that can mean and feel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I know Katie mentioned, you started from a very, very young age with
Yes.
music, and I believe, why don't you talk a little bit about those early years and how belonging fit into that for you when you were first starting out?
I started playing at 4, and Katie read that from my bio. Um, I say always that the music chose me, and there was a piano in the house. My mother played the piano. Her father played the piano. Her siblings were taught to play the piano too. There were uh, 8 more of them, and my mother wanted to be a concert pianist. I didn't know my mother. She died a year and a month after I was born, but I was drawn to the piano right away. And I do remember just going up, reaching up to the keys, and I have stayed there ever since. It started off to be my solace, the piano, and it still is that, but that's not the main reason. It's all about music and going in and having that sense of connectedness, a sense of belonging, not only in a familial way, in that I could do no wrong as long as I was at the piano. So that's where I that's where I stayed. Uh, but also in the sense that I think I already had an idea that there's something bigger than me.
Mm,
Um, I wasn't told about the circumstances around my mother's death, so I didn't know I had a mother to miss until I was a little older to understand what was happening with that. And so through the piano and through music, I have a communion with her
mm,
whenever I play. And that's another sense of belonging because if you find this out, uh, you kind of feel like I remember feeling like I was kind of left dangling in the universe somewhere. It's like, yes, I've got the love of my grandmother. Yes, I have aunts and uncles who all dote on me. Yes, I have my father's family too. There was certainly a big push to surround me to make me know that I wasn't missing anything. But growing up, having found out that I did miss something, uh, it changed my perspective. And so music really restores in me the sense of belonging.
Mm,
And especially coming up through some difficult times, some trauma in my life, and I've always had the music to keep me grounded. And it's music is my life. Actually, it's taken me just about all around the world, and it continues to enhance my life, and in that I have opportunities to share my experiences and opportunities to teach, which I really love.
that's wonderful. Yeah, it sounds like at least for you, you were fortunate to have a sense of belonging that was sort of inherent in your surroundings, in your
Hmm.
early years. And I think many of us experience that, that we have our families, we have the sort of everyone putting in the effort to create the
Hmm.
support for you as you're first growing up. And I think the challenge often comes later in life when we have to build our own belonging and see how that all that goes. How did that journey go for you as you went later into your life?
My life's been quite a roller coaster, I have to say, and I think everybody could pretty much say that. I don't know of anyone's life who's been a flat line. I would dare say if your life has been a flat line, you've been missing out, been missing out on a lot because even the things that jar you, even and knock you down, if they haven't taken you out, then you've got something to share. You've got a testimony to give about the resilience of your life, and that might also instill, or certainly more encourage the sense of belonging.
Mm,
We all go through the experiences we go through, like this pandemic. We are all experiencing this thing together, and then we have our own unique experiences with it. I
mm,
presently am on a prayer watch for a cousin who refused to be vaccinated, and now he's in the hospital and is probably passing. That was the news I got yesterday, and so I had to forgive him, number one, and had to forgive myself because we hadn't stayed in touch, probably for some ridiculous reasons of misunderstanding. So there's not a time to reconcile with him except but through spirit, perhaps. And so I'm kind of going through something um, around Terry. His name is Terrence, and just kind of and am praying for either a safe transition or maybe something can happen and he won't leave us, and then we can have a chance to reconcile, yeah, to come back together. Um, and I'm just sharing that with you so that, well, because that's just the truth of what's happening. And
no, thank you for that.
that,
No, it's
yeah.
that, that,
So
that that can't be an easy
yeah,
thing to be dealing with, and brings up a lot of the same kinds of feelings we're talking about.
but that is to say that the shared experiences, and even with in deaths of loved ones, those are shared experiences, and then we have our unique take on
Hmm.
everything. But we have to
Hmm.
remember that we're still in this together.
Yeah, that's
Um,
a very good point.
we are still in this together. And then, even in the larger picture, for those of us who can't understand, and I'll never understand why you won't, unless you actually physically, for your health, cannot get vaccinated. Um, this has been another polarizing thing, another polarizing issue in our country. And so, if we can take into our vision the big picture, if we can expand our vision and find some compassion too for those people who are very staunchly against vaccinations, just for example, I could even expand it to say those people who raided the insurrection of January of 2021. Can we find a way to hold them in compassion too for all the madness in our country right now? we have to find our capacity still for compassion and the big F word, forgiveness. Doesn't mean forget, and it doesn't mean I'm giving you a pass, but it does really mean no judgment. We still have to try to meet people where they are because that's what we hope to receive from other people when we're having a hard time. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
my
Yeah, I
sermon in
think
blue today.
absolutely. Yes, I think everyone absolutely deserves that same compassion, and it's easy to think of to let ourselves slip into mindsets where we think that some people deserve it more than others, but really it's good to remember that everyone deserves that compassion regardless.
Everyone doesn't
Um,
know, and it's difficult. I know.
yeah, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Um, and so what about your life, in recent years? I know that you said you've been on somewhat of a roller coaster, as we all are. Um, how has your life now compared to, the middle of your life where you might have had some more trouble with belonging? How do those different phases compare right now?
Um, I feel more, and maybe it has to do with being older and being called an elder, which I have to say, a couple of years ago, I flinched at the at the word elder. Me? Wait a minute. When did I become an elder? I'll be 61 this year. And and some other people say, "Oh, you're still a baby. You haven't lived life." It's like, no, we're living. We're living our life. Um, Pursuing a career in music, which I have to say now I no longer pursue. And it's so that energetic changed everything. As long as I thought I was going after something and what I thought was that big thing, which was never really clear in my mind. So it didn't ever really quite materialize the way I thought it might because it wasn't clear. I knew that I wanted to always be a musician, travel the world, share music, and not necessarily being an entertainer, not that. And I know now what the focus is, and that's a music ministry, if you will, as
Mm,
opposed to being performative. Yes, I still play in concerts. I accompany many wonderful vocalists and other instrumentalists, but it's not about executing the triple toe double axel loop on the piano. It's about giving support and embodying and showing, demonstrating how music brings us together. So I believe strongly in collaboration, and I love it. I love playing solo too, and I love moments like this. But I really love playing in ensemble, and and I have to say again, because you didn't hear me earlier, the choir was really, really beautiful. That was on before me. I love that, and I would love to hear more. So I'm gonna check out that link because I definitely want to hear that. The Community Music Center. That was fantastic. And maybe there can be a collaboration with you, CMC. Um, in the jazz world, which is still heavily male dominated, um, and it's just a fact, uh, to have a sense of belonging took some years to grab onto there.
mm,
I just had to trust that I was good enough because I wasn't getting a lot of feedback.
mm,
And that can be really tough. Or, if you don't play the way someone else plays, if you don't sound like what they say jazz is supposed to sound like, then you can find yourself in a vacuum and in
mm,
great isolation if you allow yourself to go there. Thankfully, because jazz is not the only expression of music, by the way, and then I tell my students, which I will tell them later this morning, that bebop is not the only expression of jazz. Music is so huge and infinite. We all have a place in it. And
mm,
so I have learned over these 40 years now to consider that, just in the world, in the micro universe of jazz, that it's like that. And there's my sense of belonging. I have a place there, and I also am there to help illuminate and bring forward the women who were there before me. They don't get a lot of light. And to also encourage more women to come forward or to come on and dive in. The water's not cold. So come on in and you will not sink. I'm here and there are other women here and you can belong too.
That's wonderful. Yeah. And it sounds like, those are like, as you say, unique experiences to your life, but that they feel so applicable to everyone's life. I mean, everyone struggles with acceptance and finding their place, and finding people who can support them and feel heard. And it also sounds like you've sort of been able to traverse into a stage where you can be a provider of belonging. You're not just the one trying to seek it out from others, but
Yeah.
you can be the one that can give it too. And I think that's an important kind of give and take that kind of comes with the whole thing, and being actively a part of it.
It is. Music is the action of music is a giving thing. Um, I think we get, um, we pick up, and I don't think it's the intention necessarily of a tradition of recitals and concerts that it's a passive action. So we're just there to take it in, and the person performing our offering is the only active part. We're all active. And so eventually it becomes a circle of activity. It's a collective experience. It's just a drag that in a classical concert, if somebody plays a passage that you've been waiting to hear, then you can jump up and go, yeah, that's it. That's what I wanted to hear. You can do that in a jazz concert. And I often encourage people, it's like, if you are liking this, then let the band know with some vocalization or stand up or clap. That jazz is freedom and movement.
Could I
Because
pop in with
yes.
some to demonstrate? The chat is going wild. They
Oh,
love you, Tammy. And since we only have 2 minutes left, I'm
oh my
wondering,
gosh. Too
do
quick.
you feel like you might have any more playing in you this morning? Anything else you want to offer
Oh,
with the last two
sure.
minutes? Okay, we
Absolutely.
invite you. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Rick.
My pleasure. Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you both.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. This song is called Blue Soul.
Oh, thank you, Tammy.
Thank you so
Oh,
much. Thank you.
thank you, Rick. That was so beautiful. Thank you for the vulnerability you brought today and the plane. I feel so connected, really. Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you.
have a great day to you both. Thank you.
You
Thank you so
too.
much.
Everyone have a wonderful day.